One of the greatest aspects of travel are the friendships we forge along the way.
1 year ago, in a place called Scorpion Bay, we met fellow surfers Dane and Sara. We shared waves, and now a year later, find our paths crossing once more. This time, in Panama, near the end of Central America. While they are nearing the end of their journey through North and Central America, join us as they share their story. I'm Jesse, and you're watching Outside is Calling. Intro video.
St. Augustine said, "The world is a book, and those who do not travel read only one page."
So our trip began initially in the States. Neither of us are from North America, so we had to fly there, and we bought a vehicle, 2006 Ford Econoline E350. It was already built out a little bit. It had solar, a bit of insulation, but the build was pretty terrible. So when we finally found it, we had a bit of work to do, which was okay because we had friends that had a farm, and we just started with them. Built the thing out and then left from California and headed to Canada. It was our first real start.
Before we went on this journey, we were working full-time as much as we could to save up to be able to live our dream life. I was working as in insurance. I liked my job, but we were both really eager to explore.
Life before this for me was sort of similar. I'd kind of been traveling a lot since I was a teenager. I was actually living in Europe at the time, and I'm originally from Australia, so it was still kind of like I wasn't really home, but once you have an apartment and a job, everything kind of becomes normal no matter where you are. I was in a bar working like 70 hours a week, 60, 70 hours a week, and just didn't love it. It wasn't like a career job like Sarah's, I suppose, but it was just whatever, it was money, and it allowed us to come and do this. We actually met on Tinder. So Sarah was living in Sweden and I was living in Denmark, but they're super close together. It's kind of like San Francisco and Oakland or something. Like there's water in between, but it's still only a short distance. That was that 2010s love story.
Yeah. So we bought the van, we built her out, and then we were kind of in a hurry to go up to as far to the North Pole. We were planning, our original plan was to go to Alaska and go down all the way down to Ushuaia, but the temperature dropped in the middle of winter.
I mean, yeah, definitely the first challenge was the cold, I think.
Yeah.
It was minus 20, minus 30 Celsius.
35.
It actually got to minus 35 Celsius. So dealing with that straight away in a van, like we didn't really have our bearings, I suppose. And yeah, going from just having everything organized to being so cold that all you want to do is be wearing a giant jacket or be in bed wasn't really a great start. So I got pretty chaotic for the first month or two until we got back down into Utah, I suppose, and it warmed up a little bit and the sun came out. A learning experience for me, especially coming from a climate like this. It's never had snow ever.
Yeah, he was so stoked every day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have like 9 months of winter every year where I'm from, and it was so like we stoke each other up because like opening sliding the door open in the morning, or pretty much like giving the side door a bang because it was completely pitch black, and like hearing this thump and just like all of this snow just gliding off of the side of the car, and then opening it up and just like winter wonderland. And he was just so stoked every day. It was wonderful.
Yeah. There was definitely other challenges. I think one of the main ones was lack of space. It's not even like, the van's not particularly small, but we can't stand up in it or anything like that. But it was just like wanting to do too many activities, like going from -30 with all the winter gear and like hiking gear and ice axe and crampons and all that sort of stuff, to like having surfboards and wetsuits and all this sort of stuff in the car. Like that was, yeah, the lack of space still can be a challenge on some days. You just hit your head on something or you can't find something else. It's very easy to make messy because there's not much room to put anywhere, but you get used to it, I suppose.
It took us about 6 months until we had like, okay, this thing needs to go exactly like that.
Yeah.
And then we're kind of...
I still can't sleep straight though.
No.
There is not enough room for me to stretch out, so sometimes that is a challenge still.
And I sleep like a princess.
Yeah.
Why this lifestyle is so appealing now is, I think, is because of all the freedom. And when you take that step into this lifestyle, it is a very freeing, like it's intimidating, but as you kind of just deal with that, it is the most freeing experience. And I think that is what people are attracted to, and that is what keeps people
motivated,
going.
I suppose.
Yeah.
After a year and a half now, I suppose, the one thing, it's like, it would be nice to have a little more space, I think. And that's the only thing that I think makes me miss having a bigger space, I suppose, is like, but when I visualize a bigger space, I kind of think of a bedroom and an apartment and somewhere to cook. But if we could just stand up and walk around a little bit more, I don't think it would be an issue at all.
Yeah, it was a really good thing to get us out every day though.
Yeah, definitely.
We were forced pretty much to just head on out and explore. So we were pretty much up at 6 or put our hiking boots on our gas heater to defrost them, put them on, and head on out.
As far as the whole movement thing goes, though, I think it's like obtainable for people without high incomes. Like normally to travel consistently for such a long time, if you're staying in hotels or hostels, you need buses, taxis, planes, buses, all this sort of thing, can be expensive. And I think just being able to live in a van has made it much more obtainable. And people are starting to realize this now. And also, yeah, I think it's slightly more socially acceptable also, like in a way where it's like maybe 10, 15 years ago, it's like, oh, you live in a van, you're a bum. Now it's like, oh, that's cool, you're traveling around and blah, blah, blah. Maybe not a bum, maybe that was a bit harsh, but like you live in, it was viewed a certain way, I think. Now it's not as much.
So when we select our spots, we look at the map, okay, we want to go to these 15 surf spots. And along the way, we kind of plan ahead a few days prior.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose we spend most of our time or make most of our choices based on, like things that we want to do. We spend a lot of time camping in the mountains or staying in the mountains close to places we want to hike, beaches where we can stay that we want to surf, or just like other things like waterfalls or just like kind of beautiful areas that are attractive to us, and we spend a couple of days there and then keep going. We mostly use us, when we're looking stuff up, like mountains or whatever, we look things up on Google, and fortunately for us, generally there is someone that's already been to these spots on our overlander. Sometimes there's not, and we'll make our own spot. Recommendations for wanting to start doing this, I think, would probably be to start, maybe not small, but just do a small trip first to see if you like it. Like Sarah and I went and spent a couple of months in a van in New Zealand before we were coming to the States to get our actual van, and we were like, okay, let's just do this, and if we absolutely hate it, we'll just do something else when we get to the US. Like, we can just do something else. We don't have to buy a van and do a van trip. But it turns out we loved it. But again, we've met people along the way that have gone out and bought like really nice expensive vans, and then 6 months later they've been like, oh, not for me, and they've sold it, which I'm sure they've still had a great experience and it's great. But yeah, just like try it first. You don't have to dive in off the deep end. Also, like, I think one thing that, like, it's really easy to get caught up when you start doing research, like on YouTube and Instagram and these sorts of things, to get caught up with, like, you want the prettiest vehicle, you want the biggest, you want like all this sort of stuff, but it's not really important. Like, I think just understanding your budget and what you can do, and like, if you want to do this, you can do it on way less than you think you need. Like, we probably have a little bit more than we think we need. We'd still like more, especially after a year and a half. But I have friends that bought like just a Mitsubishi square tin van, put a mattress on the floor. It was just two guys, and they drove from Chile to Canada with that. Like, just the absolute worst setup you could ever imagine. And it took them about 10 or 11 months, but they did it, and they loved it, and they had a great time. And so it's not always about like the $50,000 Sprinter, or like, sometimes we kind of looked around for ages hoping to get like a dream vehicle. Turns out like we didn't need exactly what we thought we needed, and we've had an amazing time in far less than we thought we wanted.
Yeah, there are definitely benefits with having not like the biggest rig in the world. We can drive over most roads even though we don't have a 4x4.
We've been stuck a lot.
Let's see if we can see the tracks.
You ready?
On your line.
It's perfect down here.
We have been stuck a lot, but we have a shovel and we have a compressor, and we kind of try and look. We go out, if it looks loose or sandy or whatever, we can go out and we try it and walk on it, and maybe it says like, okay, let's just go for it, because we have like a few houses there, there's a tractor 1 kilometer away, let's just go and try it. Like, we always try and take the small road to get that experience. Like, no one has been here before, even though hundreds have been here. Like, we just want to do that kind of travel, you know? One thing that can help finance a trip like this is having a budget prior and really stick to that. Never carry your credit card around. That definitely helps for those impulse, shopping and stuff.
I think one thing that both of us had always thought about, it was always kind of a concern, but you really get to see it firsthand when you kind of cross into Mexico, is like issues with sustainability and especially trash, and not knowing really what to do about it, because the disposal methods aren't great. There's a lot of these things that aren't exactly how it is in the US or Europe or Australia or whatever. So we have been really on a mission to cut out plastic altogether since we started this, and it's incredibly difficult, and we haven't come anywhere near cutting it out, but like, we never buy plastic. Anything in a plastic bottle, it's off the table. No plastic bags for anything ever. except for like the one, like it's basically down to like when we buy cereal, it'll be in plastic or these sorts of things. But even still, like when we find markets where you can buy bulk rice or bulk anything, it's like we've really been trying to like lower our footprint in that way. Just because it's hard to look at. You go to a beach, all these incredible beaches, and they're just covered in trash, and you're like, even if I pick all this up, it's just going to wash back up from somewhere else. So really the only solution for us was to try and stop helping with the production of that.
Yeah, pretty much the only way they do their method of recycling is putting all the plastic bottles and all their plastics and putting it in a pile beside side of the road and lit it on fire. So we probably passed like sometimes 10, 15, maybe 20 of those little piles. We clean the beaches and the campsites that we go to as well, to all the respect, because a lot of the times it's someone's property who let us park there, and to pay our like respect to them, we clean it up and bring it with us to try and find maybe somewhere in a city or a dump, and we bring it there. And we always get like, what are these gringos doing here with all of these
bags of trash?
And we try to tell them like it's not good for the planet or whatever, and they're and try and ask them like their opinion, but it's yeah. Yeah, I feel like one of the biggest changes from before and now, being on the road for quite some time, what is it, 1.5
Yeah, 1.5 years. Yeah.
It's like, first off, we are really close. We got into
all the time.
all the time. But yeah, if I go take photos somewhere or explore by myself and he does something else, it's like it feels so empty. Like,
it's weird now, which I'd never felt that before. So a little bit different.
But also I think for me it's like the language, learning a new language, how many doors that actually opens. It has opened so many doors with just being invited, because they're very inviting here. So they're like, yeah, do you want to come and stay and like look at I have a little coffee plantation, do you want to have a look? And like that, I think it's the personal growth and just being curious and kind of be a kid again. You know?
You definitely don't need to be fluent in Spanish. Neither of us are fluent in Spanish.
No.
We can fumble through a conversation about most things.
And
but there's,
point.
And like there's still a lot of words we don't know and a lot of things that we get confused about. When people talk, sometimes you don't understand it all, but if you're patient and they're patient. I think the other thing, the most important thing which I learned early on was to try and talk, because making mistakes is like, you'll say something and if you say it wrong, like, I don't know, just something grammatically incorrect, you will just be playing, like I tend to anyway, play those conversations over in my head later. And then I'm like, oh no, I should have said this instead of that. And if I had have never said that, I still would have technically known how to say it properly, but now I won't forget again because I've made that mistake and it made me feel silly. And now I'm like, okay, cool, good. So
and just talk with yourself. I'll go on the beach when the surf is too big and Dane and Sara and I am too intimidated. I just go for a run or go for a walk and just talk Spanish, like hola, mi nombre es Sara, like just for myself, because the more you talk, the more it's like muscle memory pretty much. I think one of our trip highlights is when we have been out on these really high mountains.
We're back at our lunch spot and conditions have changed a little bit.
4.5 hours ago. Biking, we hiked the biggest,
Highest.
the third highest mountain volcano in North America, Pico de Orizaba. We still talk about that almost every week. And also all of the beautiful waterfalls and the culture. Like, I am in love with this culture. I've never met people that are so accommodating and so interested in, like, it's wonderful. And the food.
For me, one of the highlights was definitely getting to surf Puerto Escondido in Mexico. Besides hiking Pico de Orizaba, which was incredible, but yeah, getting to surf Puerto Escondido in Mexico, which I'd wanted to do since I was a teenager. And it was also very big, which made it a little bit scarier, but also, like, just to be able to actually see that firsthand was pretty intense and exciting for me. Didn't get that many waves just because there was a lot of people. Even though it was big, there was still a lot of people in the water. It wasn't like the XXL swells, like not like the biggest it gets, but it was still like, it was a day after one of the XXL swells, so it was still massive, but it wasn't like crazy. But yeah, I got a few, but it was still kind of crowded. Yeah. Still good though.
So my name's Sarah from Sweden. Cut. Okay, you go first. I'm gonna vlog.
Hi, my name's Dane.
I'm Sarah.
And we run a website called Holiday From Where. Sustainable, travel-y focused sort of website. Hiking, ocean, that sort of thing.
And also on Somewhere with Sarah on Instagram and Holiday From Where on Instagram as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay.
That's a wrap. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, share with your friends. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook, and our website is outsidetelling.com.